only volunteer.
That's right. Thank you everyone for coming. We appreciate the fact that at least we begin with opening prayers.
Om Vasudeva Sudam Devam
Amsatanurmardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru.
Let's all stand.
Om Akshay Vade Akshay Brahma Vayani Vayani Jagat Mata Vishwamuri Namaste Om Bhurabhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo na prachodayat. Om Bhurabhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo na prachodayat. Om Bhurabhuva Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Yo na prachodayat. Om Trambakam Yajamane Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukivalandhanam Mrityunjakshiramamritam. Om Prithvi Tvayamrita Bharuta Devi Tvam Vishnunamrita Vancharam Devi Vaitram Kunchasanam. Om Prithvi Mata Yonam Brahmami. Om Akvetra Pavitova Sarva Vashtam Gadopiva Yasvare Kundali Bhacham Sadhaya Vayandaram Suchi. Om Hastam Takshmam Samarjami Govindaye Namah. Om Amado Pasaramasi Swaha. Om Amada Pranamasi Swaha. Om Satyajit Mai Shri Shvetam Swaha. Krishna Siko Brahma Pushmagi Janardhanam Krishnavarisham Karadevam Krishnaram Karo. Om Mani Ase Astu Om Nasurve Prano Astu Om Akshurve Shashtrastu Om Paragurve Shokramastu Om Ahorme Dhammastu Om Ahorme Ojrastu Om Adhisthani Meyangani Adhisthani Om Bhayom Swastina Indro Pradashvaha Swastina Pushva Vishvaveda Swastina Skaksho Arshtanamedi Swastina Prahastake Pradatu Om Bhaya Prithvyam Bhaya Oshadeshu Bhayo Divanche Bhayodha Arasvati Presha Santumaya Om Vishnu Radhamasi Vishnu Shnata Krishna Vishnu Sarasi Vishnu Droshi Vishnu Masi Vishnu Veka Om Akir Devata Vatu Devata Suryo Devata Chandra Devata Aspo Devata Rudra Devata Aditya Devata Varno Devata Vishwadeva Devata Brahaspati Devata Indro Devata Karno Devata Om Vyam Shanti Antariksham Shanti
पृथ्वी शांति रापा शांति औषधि शांति वनस्पति शांति विश्वदेव शांति ब्रह्मा शांति सर्वगुण शांति शांतिरेव शांति ओम विश्वानि देव सकलदेवतानि परासुव यद्भद्रं तदासुव ओम शुक्लं वरदं देवं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नं वदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये ओम असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मा अमृतंगमय ओम शांति 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 हरि ओम. Now touch the altar in front of us, asking Mother Earth for the blessings and bestow the grace upon you. Om Bhurasi Bhumi Rasi Viti Rasi Vishwadhaya Vipase Bhuvanasya Bharatri Utulam Yacha Pratatam Pritwanga Utulam Mahi Bhansi. Prince Bolo Prati Mata Ki Jai Charana Mata. We now come to our first set of offers of Organized Mother Gallery. We ask them to bless you success in all your endeavors to everyone out there. Flowers with them. Om Bhakratana Mahakaya Koti Surya Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurve Deva Sarva Kareshu Sarvada Om Gajananam Bhutvanam Sevitam Aditsadam Bhuvasarabhakshanam Umasukam Shukdanashatarakam Namami Vigneshwar Paradabhaktam Om Airam Mamesha Putram Samasta Vigno Vinasa Raksham Mangalya Puja Patam Pradhanam Yahana Pujam Bhagavan Namaste Om Sarva Mangala Mangale Shive Sarva Artha Sadhike Chirantiranti Bhavani Narayani Namaste.
Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh Deva. Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh, Jai Ganesh Deva.
And plus, we offer glorification to worship Bhagwan Ganesh, then we will go. Jai Ganapati Sadha Guna Sadam Harivar Kripa Vikram Mangalakaram Jai Jai Girijara Om Daksha Ganesha Gauri Swasthanata Parmeshwari Aham Puja Karishkami Om Sada Samubhava Friends with Lord Shri Ganesh Gauri Gurukhi Jai Sharanam Prabhu Sharanam Prabhu. I praise now for Mr. Mother Lakshmi. We ask her to bestow her light, to guide us in the darkness, to grant us prosperity and wealth for all of us out there. Bow again. Om Namaste Namah Shri
Om Lakshmi Mata ये साम्राज्य परिवारा अब तो ज्योति दीजो माँ सारे जग में जय उजियारा ओम लक्ष्मी माता ये साम्राज्य परिवारा अब तो ज्योति दीजो माँ सारे जग में जय उजियारा Oh,
The next section brings us to the algebra, the planets that are very much in control of our lives. We ask them to bestow their grace upon us, to watch over us, and that to take care of the following members. We offer our prayers to Janet Samara, Anjani Rapo, Marnay Ramprasad, Mary Rambao, and Sita Steve. Om Brahma Murari Srivarandakari Manushyashi Bhumi Sadovasya Dharusha Shukashani Rahuketu Sarve Ganaha Shantara Bhavantu. Principal Shri Navada Ekati Now we come to worship of Lord Krishna. We ask for His benevolence, love, and compassion upon us always, so to always watch over us. Om Shishankara Chakram Sakagari Katundalam Sasamita Vasram Sasinivekshanam Sahara Bhaksha Sadakaustuva Sriyam Ramani Vishnu Sarjatundam Om Gam Karoti Vacharam Angam Rangayate Yatkripa Kamaham Vande Om Nilam Bhujashamala Komanandam Sita Samarutavamagam Amasaya Kacharuchapam Namami Rama Raghuvam Shanatam Om Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunataya Ramaya Sitaya Patale Om Leelavanavitavasram Srivatsarabhushitam Gokulanandam Brahmadaya
मन एक बार हरि बोल मन एक बार हरि बोल हरि बोलो हरि 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 बोलो भव सिंधु पार कर दो हरि 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 बोलो भव सिंधु पार कर दो ब्रह्मानंद रूप हरि पतित पावन हरि एक बार हरि बोल ब्रह्मानंद रूप हरि पतित पावन हरि एक बार हरि बोल मन एक बार हरि बोल मन एक बार हरि बोल हरे पिता हरे माता हरे गुरु ज्ञान दाता हरे पिता हरे माता हरे गुरु ज्ञान दाता हरे एक बार हरि Yes, it is.
Speak a little louder. Okay.
Only, these are the guys doing purification.
Yeah.
So wait.
हे कृष्ण गोपाल हरि हे दीन दयाल हरि जय जय कृष्ण गोपाल हरि हे दीन दयाल हरि जय जय कृष्ण गोपाल हे दीन दयाल तुम करता तुम ही कारण तुम ही विचार तुम ही कारण परम कृपाल हे दीन दयाल जय जय कृष्ण गोपाल हरि भूमि में कर्मयोग के मतलब रघुहाटे भूमि में कर्मयोग के मतलब अजर अमर कर्म साधु आया के दुख सुख पहुँचाए सदा सारणी शरणागत है सदा सारणी शरणागत है सदा प्रतिपालनी दीन दयालनी जय जय कृष्ण भगवान जय दीन दयालनी जय जय कृष्ण भगवान श्याम के रंग में रंग गए तीरथ कान को रस के कान हुए श्याम के रंग में रंग गए तीरथ कान को रस के कान हुए घर पे आके बंद कर दी दास से कर सकिए माता यशोदा बिजनारी से माता यशोदा बिजनारी से माता यशोदा दीन दयालनी जय जय कृष्ण भगवान दीन दयालनी जय जय कृष्ण भगवान कृष्ण गोपाल हरे दीन दयाल हरे कृष्ण गोपाल हरे नंद किलाल हरे कृष्ण गोपाल
Om Yam Brahma Varanandra Brahmanisar Sumvarti Devestave Deve Sampradha Prabhupada Bhayanti Yam Savadam Jnana Vashishta Targatena Manasa Ashyanti Yam Ruhuna Yasyantam Nadhu Surasura Devaye Tasve Namaha Omkayena vacha manasindriyava buddhyatmanava prakriti sabhava karomi jat sakalam parasme narayana jati samartyami प्रेम से बोलो श्री कृष्ण भगवान की जय श्री राम प्रभु The worship now comes from Lord Shiva, also known as Adi Yogi, the first yogi. He teaches us union of mind, body, and soul. So we ask him to always bestow his grace upon us and always walk with us. Bow our head. Om Ashuram Pate Papanasham Parisham Gajendra Sekritam Bhasanam Varenyam Jatajutamade Spuraranam Ravarim Mahadevamekam Staranam Stararam Mahesham Suresham Surarakinasham विभुं विश्वनाथं विभूत्यङ्गभूषं विरूपाक्षमण्डलवाणीप्रणेत्रं सदानन्दमीडे प्रभुं हर्षवक्त्रं गरीशं गणेशं गणेरीयवर्णं गजेन्द्रादिरूढं वनातीतरूपं भवं वास्वनाथं शिवं भवानी कलकं जजेन्द्रवक्त्रं शिवकान्तशम्भोषशङ्करगमने महेशानशूले जटाजुगधारे तुमैको जगद्व्यापको विश्वरूपा प्रसीदं प्रसीदं प्रभो पूर्णरूपं नमस्ते नमस्ते विभो विश्वमूर्ते नमस्ते नमस्ते चिदानन्दमूर्ते नमस्ते नमस्ते तन्मयोगगम्य नमस्ते नमस्ते श्रीज्ञानगम्य प्रभो शूरपाणे विभो विश्वदाता महादेव शम्भो महेश प्रणेत्र शिवाकान्त शान्त स्मरारे स्मरारे वदन्यो गणेयो नमो नमः ॐ नमः शम्भुवाय च वयोभवाय च नमः शङ्कराय च वयस्कराय च नमः शिवाय च शिवतराय च ॐ तत्पुरुषाय विद्महे महादेवाय धीमहि तन्नो रुद्रः प्रचोदयात् ॐ नमः शिवोग्रं सर्वसतीकरं शुभम् आसनं च मया दत्तं वेदाना परमेश्वरम् ॐ नमस्ते निर्भीर्भाय च शक्रमेधुषे अतुल्यस्य सन्तभानो अमन्तेभ्योत्तरं नमः ॐ त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धे पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव मृत्योर्मुक्ष्यमामृता ॐ वरिष्ठं हन्मसि ॐ वरिष्ठस्तम्भस्सर्जनस्तौ ॐ वरिष्ठस्तधन्यासि ॐ वरिष्ठस्तधन्वासि ॐ वरिष्ठस्तधन्मासि ॐ गोक्षदानं देवेशे गोक्षरमया कृतं स्थापनं देवदेवेशे वेदाना शिवशङ्कर ॐ नमः शिवाय ॐ नमः शिवाय नमः शिवाय ॐ नमः शिवाय ॐ गजमया अश्वरा शीत शीतक्षेमस्य रूप पशुपतये कर्णयः अवलतं गमोरुक ॐ नमः शिवाय ॐ नमः शिवाय नमामि शमीशां निर्वाणरूपं विभुव्यापकं ब्रह्मदेवस्वरूपं निजं विकोपं निरीहं चिदाशोकपाशं निराकार ओम Sahachara Shariram Jate Vishado Prabho Varajana Netra Samadhi Sati Sanchara Padayo Pradakshina Vidi Srotani Sarva Viru Yajya Parvakaroni Tadadatiram Shambho Rajanam Charanakritam Ayajam Karmajamva Shravanayana Jamva Manasambha Aparam Viditam Avitam Va Sarvam Hijat Shavasva Jaya Jaya Karnavadi Shri Mahadeva Shambhu Om Puragaram Karunavataram Samsarasaram Nirvinaharam Saravasantam Nirvinaharam Aham Bhavani Santam Nahari Om Prantam Jamani Siddhamekwa Shivayam Urvati Vavayam Nitya Principles of Sri Shankar Bhagavan Jai Sharanam Prabhu. Take the shot and offer it to them now. I'm going to take those.
I think we do themselves.
Okay.
Merci.
Alright. Yeah.
Nando Charana Kamala Gunandana Nando Charana Kamala Gunandana Nando Charana Kamala Gunandana Kamala Gunandana Kamala Gunandana Kamala Bhaktan बंधु चरण कमल रघुनंदन लता पकड़ो जन्म मरण भया दूर करत छिन में जनरंजन दूर करत छिन में जनरंजन बंधु चरण कमल रघुनंदन जो चरण कमल बंधु चरण कमल रघुनंदन बंधु चरण कमल रघुनंदन भक्तन माता चरणन में भगवन कृपा करे सेवक वै वंजन कृपा करे सेवक वै वंजन बंधु चरण कमल रघुनंदन बंधु चरण कमल रघुनंदन ओ बंधु चरण कमल रघुनंदन बंधु कमल रघुनंदन
कभी राम बने के कभी श्याम बने के चले आना प्रभु जी चले आना। कभी राम बन के कभी श्याम बन के चले आना प्रभु जी चले आना। कभी राम बने के कभी श्याम बने के चले आना प्रभु जी चले आना। ओ चले आना प्रभु जी चले आना। राम बन के कभी श्याम बन के प्रभु जी चले आना। ओ चले आना प्रभु जी चले आना। Thank you.
सहस्रक्षा सहस्रपात् सा भूमिं विश्वतो वृत्ता अध्यक्षिष्टदशाङ्गुलम् पुरुषैवेदकं सर्वं यद्भूतं यच्चाभार्यं ताम्रतत्त्वस्येषानः यदनेनातिरोहति एतावानस्य महिमा अतो जयश्च सुष्यः पादोऽस्य विश्वभूतानि कृपलस्यामृतं दिवि कृपाभूद्वादे पुरुषः पादोऽस्य हे भवत्पुनः ततो विश्वान् व्यक्रमात् शासनानाशने अभिः तस्मात् विराट् आजयत विराजो अधिपुरुषः सजातो अत्यरिच्यत पश्चात् भूमिम् अतो पुरः यत्पुरुषेण हविषा देवायज्ञम् अन्तर्भवः विशन्तो अस्य सीज अज्यम् विश्वमस्मशरदभिः सप्तास्यासन् परिधायः नृपसप्तासमिधा कृतः देवायज्ञं तन्वतः अभग्नं पुरुषं पशुं तं यज्ञं वरिष्ये प्रोक्षं पुरुषं जातम् अग्रतः तेन देवे अज्यन्त्या साध्या ऋषया सये तस्मात् यज्ञात् सर्वभूतः संवृतं प्रसादाज्यम् पशुं स्रगाश्चक्रे भयावः आनन्दाग्रामस्यश्चये ॐ रुद्रदेवाभ्यो नमः ॐ नमः शम्भवाय च मयोभवाय च नमः शङ्कराय च मयस्कराय च नमः शिवाय च शिवकराय च ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय ॐ हरि हरि ॐ
रुद्राय विश्वेश्वराय महेश्वराय नमः
Everybody out there is on. Let's listen. Next class in prayer. Lokaviram ram ram gajiram Rajiv netram ragvam shamatam Shri Ramachandram Sharanam Prapajye जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय 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 राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम करुणावतारं संसार सारं भुजगेन्द्रहारं सदा वसन्तं हृदयारविन्दे भवं भवामि सहितं नमामि जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम हे भाग्यवान मनुष्य तनु पावा सुरगुरु सत्ग्रंथं धिगावा साधन धाम मोक्ष कटवारा पाई न जय कर लोक सारा जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम भगत नर चंदारी सही संकट किए साधु सुकारी नाना सुप्रेम जपतन यासा भगत होई मुरा मंगल वासा जय राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम राम श्री राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम Words of Bhagavan Om Sachidānanda-rūpāya Vishvotapathyāde Tave Tāpatrāya Vināśāya Shri Krishna Namaha Mata Chaparvati Devi Pita Devo Maheshwara Pandava Shiva Bhaktascha Srichurunam Om Bhisham Drona Tata Jayadratchala Gandhar Vilotpala Shalya Gravati Kripena Mani Karnena Vela Kulai Ashvatama Vikarna Goda Makara Duryodhana Varti Sotirna Kalpandava Ranadi Kevartaka Kishwaha Kevartaka Kishwaha Parashavya Vasud Saroja Mamalam Gita Artha Gandhopakam Nana Kyanaka Kesaram Harikatha Sambodhana Bodhitam Loke Sajana Shatru Padarahai Pipi Yamana Mudar Vyad Bharat Pankajam Kalmal Pradvamsi Pradvamsana Shriyasi Om Vasudeva Sukam Devam Kamsacharanam Devaki Paramānandam Krishna Vande Jagatguru. Om Mukam Karoti Vacham Vande Girim Yat Kripatamham Vande Yam Brahma Brahmendra Rudra Manta Srunstave Vedai Sampadakra Mopanishade Ayam Tiyam Samadam Yana Vishti Kadagate Manasa Vashyantiyam Yogino Yasyantam Naviru Surasurgana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha Kaino Cha Manasendriyirva Buddhyatmana Prakriti Sabhavate Karomi Adya Sakalam Parasmai Narayanyayeti Samarpyami Narayanyayeti Samarpyami Bolo Shri Krishna Kanayalal Bhagavan Ki Jai Sharanam Prabhu Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya Om Hari Om Om Hari Om Om Hari Om. A few verses of Ramayana Champai, Ram Siya Ram. The reason today is I'm going to the Ramayana, and this will be the only music part we have. Oh, Mangala Bhava, Mangala Hari, Prabhu Sadasrata, Ajaya Bihari. Holy heavenly Hari Om Shanti 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 Hari. Hello, brothers, sisters, elders, children. Thanks to all those who are in attendance today. At the outset here, Pandit and I, we agreed that now and again we introduce a little bit of Vedic chanting. So we were chanting a few verses to the chant called the Guru Sutta. It goes along Vedic chanting. And if we sounded like something in priest, that's a great compliment. So thanks very much. Today I want to talk about the origins of the Ramayana. And so there's a lot of things our grandfathers and our grandparents and grandmothers and so used to tell us. So I used to hear stories that as long as rivers run, as long as mountains stand, the name of Ramchandra will reign. So where did they find this from? Like who told them this thing? I read the entire Tulsi Ramayana. I don't think I found this sentiment, right? So where did they hear this from? The thing is that both Pandit and I, we're rereading, really, that's true. We're rereading the Ramayana of Valmiki. This is the original Ramayana. In the 1600s, 1649, I think it was, Sant Tulsidas took it upon himself to render this poem in what's known as Awadhi. Awadhi, a kind of a mix between, it's an ancient form of Hindi. But previous to that, the original was only available in Sanskrit. And I want to talk a little bit about the blessed sage Valmiki. He is known as Adi Kavi. Adi Kavi. Adi Yogi means the first yogi. Adi Kavi means the first poet. He's the first person, the first rishi to have seen the life of Bhagavan Sri Ram, lived during the time of Bhagavan Sri Ram as well. Because for those of us that remember, the two little boys, Lav and Kush, they grew up in his ashram. The first time that this Ramayana is sung in public, it is sung in the courts of Bhagavan Sri Ram. And he is he's the listener of this poem. And he listens to it because Valmiki has taught this entire poem to these two princes, because unbeknownst to them, these two princes had grown up at Valmiki Ashram. And Valmiki had instructed them on how this thing was supposed to sung. And it was meant to be sung to a veena, to a certain string instrument. And it was meant to have a certain verse pattern. And so he was the first poet that discovered these kind of poetic stanzas, and therefore he's the first poet. There has been rishis and so on long before him. People who composed some of these Vedic suttams that Pandit and I were saying. These far precede this first work of poetry. This is the first time poetry comes into the veil of the Hindu tradition. And it comes by way of the Bhagavan Sri Ram avatar and all the things that he sees. But before we get into Valmiki, I think we've all heard a little bit about him. So there are a couple stories that speak about him. And I want to look at I wanted to just look at one form of this because his name means something special. So in ancient India, a perfected being was called a rishi. This ideal is valid up to today. All the great swamis and so on, the monks we see, or the sadgurus and so on that we see, these are really perfected beings. These are rishis. Anyone, a man or a woman, can become a rishi. In ancient times, there were female rishis. One of the rishis that Ravana accosted, who killed herself, is Vedvati. She was also a rishi, meditating in the forest. So, to become a rishi, it requires constant striving to reach the goal. The goal is intuition or divine eye. So whenever we're talking about Yogeshwar, there's an eye shown in the forehead, right? This eye is called the divine eye. It is not an eye that is visible, but the portrayal or the iconography of the picture is meant to instruct us that this is where it exists. People who study endocrinology, I think I got that term wrong. Correct. Endocrinology, I think Deepak Chopra, all these guys that study endocrinology, they somehow gravitate to yoga and they somehow gravitate to mysticism. Because it is by way of the study of the glands, and it's what gland you activate in your system. There's a certain gland up here, I think it's called the pineal gland. This is things I don't think you see on the operating table, but however, these things, they give rise to certain energy centers. And yoga is the discipline by which we cause the prana to flow and to flow through these centers to make us more enlightened, to make us become more, they call it. So this English word intuit, it comes from the word I-N-T-U-I-T, right? It means you have intuitive power. Only when you get to a certain level of yoga, you have this kind of power. I think today, there's a lot of young people that are born with certain skills. Right? In an ancient time, and even in the Aboriginal time, when they had certain people born, and we say they're ugly, but it's because we didn't know better. These people have certain kind of psychic skills that doesn't
live in the normal world. So we tend to put them in a box and we say, well, they don't belong in this world. But we're now finding out that these people have certain sick problems. Right? For some of us to practice this power, sometimes it takes a lifetime. To get to this kind of state, it takes a lifetime. But some of these young people are born with this thing. I think in ways because the way society is structured, we kind of drive these people into a different kind of box. So when young people, I think when they fall into distress, depression and so on, they really can't find an avenue for the kind of skills that they have. The society we live in does not see the value of these kind of skills. But in the Aboriginal tribes, they used to let these people roam free. They gave them full room. They could do whatever they want because they realized these people had certain potentials. Later, these people would come back and become medicine men and medicine women, so-called shamans and so on, of their respective traditions, because they had something to offer, some kind of skill, right? So, Valmiki was one of these people. So once we get into this kind of intuition, our divine eye, the capacity to be able to open it. This physical eye we have, we're able to open it at random. This eye that we can't see, it requires special skill to open it. And when you can open it, you become what we call clairvoyant. You can see certain things. Even that requires practice to get to the level that you'd like to get to. Right? So it is the unfold. So when you develop this divine eye, it is developed through self-discipline. Knowledge becomes self-evident to these people who call themselves rishis. The knowledge that you get, it is unfolded from inside you. Nobody has to teach you this knowledge. This knowledge that you garner, it comes from inside you, because this knowledge exists in each and every one of us. Only those who are able to open this eye, this third eye, the knowledge of the universe exposes itself to them. They suddenly have knowledge that that those of us who study books we can't have, because this is now experiential knowledge. Nobody got to come and tell you to believe this. These people now believe in capital TRUTH, because this one word is now universal. We no longer want to call this God or Bhagwan or whatever. This is just capital truth. This is the face of the universe. This is what they see. So this thing is unfolded from within. It is not imposed from without through another belief system. Through self-exertion, Valmiki became a Maharishi, a great seer of truth. His Ramayana is at the same time simple and sublime. Valmiki did not belong to any kind of lineage of spiritual men. He came from an ordinary stock. He started his career as a highway robber. So, once upon a time, the story says, this being his career, I didn't say his career as a highway robber. It seems at one time. This is why when I see old movies and the guy name is Daku Jarnail Singh or so on, that's his profession. He's a doctor, right? He's a robber man. He's a highway robber. We see a lot of old movies. I remember Suraj comes to mind. One son goes to the Daku clan, one son goes to the civilized clan, right? Was that we see these old movies that were shown, we weren't based, or they had certain basis on fact. Right? So robbermanship was a career, right? So it happened once that he waylaid Narad Muni himself. And Narad remonstrated him because he was there to plunder Narad. He said, give me everything you got. And the sage reprimanded him and said it was not the way of a good man. But like everybody else, you got the ethics of convenience. But Rabba said, listen here, sir. I am doing this job because I got to provide for my family, right? And Narad says, well, even though you're providing for your family, whatever sins you commit by way of these deeds, by plundering innocent people, by robbing and taking, The sins of this only accrues to you. It doesn't accrue to your family. So he was so shocked by this, he went to his family. And his family told him, well, listen, all we're entitled to is your earnings. Right? Whatever sin you committed to get this ornament, that belongs only to you. Right? So immediately he said, well, I'm committing all this sin to provide for my family, and they're telling me they're not partaking of this sin. This sin is my father. So then he went back to Nara. And he met Nara back, and he says, pray, show me the way. And always, only when you're ready to be taught, a teacher will appear. Right? Remember Dhruv Nakshatra story? How he became a Nakshatra? Not Pole Star. He was so desperate, the Lord, that also it's the same, incidentally, it's the same sage that teaches him to work, that gives him the darshan to begin his work. So he goes back and he meets Nara and he accosts him. He says, well, you're correct, my family tells me so. And he said, okay, listen now. I'll give you a holy word. I want you to practice this word, meditate on this word. He gives us an instruction on how to meditate. And Valmiki takes this word, the word is Rama. And he was so uncouth with language to itself that he couldn't say Rama. He could just say Mara. In the Buddhist tradition, Mara means the devil. Right? But it comes out of Sanskrit language too. Right? So after a while, practicing, steady practice, daily practice, he's able to repeat the word. He's able to repeat this mantra, Rama. So a mantra can be a single word, just like the word Uma, right? That's a mantra as well. So he takes this mantra, and with this mantra, he achieves the highest thing possible. And in his meditation, he sits down to meditate, and an anthill forms around him. This cloak of anthill forms around him, and this is why he's known by the name Valmiki. It means, I think, let me give you this real meaning, one who comes out of an anthill. So this is a brief. You'll hear some different stories about his happening, but this is how the sage Valmiki comes to me. So once upon a time, and this is how the Valmiki Ramayana begins, it says the sage Valmiki, chief among the Munis, and the most eloquent of men. This is how he became, chanting that mantra, that single word mantra, Rama. Constantly engaging in practice of self-control and the study of holy scriptures, inquired of Sri Narad. So at this one time, he's asking Narad, because at some time all of us were wondering, this world we're living in, is it going to hell in a handbasket? Right? This is when we say this world looks like it's going to hell. But really it's not. But if you go by Hindu cosmology and our numerology system, Kali Yuga is only here 5,000 out of 400 or 2,000 years. So a long road to travel. So he says to Narad, who is there in the world today endowed with excellent and heroic qualities, who is well versed in all the duties of life, who is grateful, who is truthful, who is firm in his vows, who is an actor of many parts? And this actor doesn't mean you're a movie. It means you got to play this role king, you got to play this role, you got to play this role spouse, you got to play this role brother, play this role son. You got many roles to play, right? We're all of us actors of many parts. And to become good at this acting skill, it has to be distributed equally. An actor of many parts, benevolent to all beings, who is learned, who is eloquent, who is handsome, who is patient, who is slow to anger, one who is truly great, who is free from envy, and who, when excited to wrath, can strike terror into the hearts of the celestial beings. O sage, I would hear of such a man from thee, who art able to describe him to me. So Narad, who is acquainted with the past, the present, and the future, very pleased with the words of sage Valmiki, answered him, saying, he says, rare indeed are those endowed with the qualities that you have enumerated, O Valmiki. Yet I can tell you of such a one. Born in the family of Ishwaku, he is named Rama. One who is renowned, who is fully self-controlled, who is valorous, who is illustrious, who is the Lord of all. And for this time we can use Lord of all because here he's presided over all the beings in his kingdom. Who is wise, who is conversant with the ethical code. This is why he is the Prince of Dharma. He is the person who looks after, he's that deity who presides over Dharma. Wise, conversant with the ethical code. And bear in mind, I'm reading this fully in English translation. So this is a book we have now that we don't have to stop and go and find out words and come back. We can read fully, we can read at leisure. Then things that bother us, we can go back and check the original Sanskrit. So wise, conversant with the ethical code, he's eloquent, he's fortunate, he's a slayer of his foes, he's broad-shouldered, he's long-armed, possessing of a conch-shaped neck and a prominent chin. He's eminent in the martial arts and in archery. He has a muscular body, arms extending to the knees, a noble head and a brow. He's of mighty prowess, possessing well-shaped arms, well-proportioned limbs, and skin of bluish tint. So this is one of the features of this tradition. We always depict someone with authoric quality that comes from a divine source to have a bluish tint. One renowned for his virtue, of prominent eyes, deep-chested, bearing auspicious marks. One who protects those who take refuge in him, and is ever mindful of the good of those dependent on him. I'm always reminded of a verse in Tulsidas' Ramayana, where Narad asks the question of him, and this is why Narad can probably say this, because he tells him, those who depend on me, I always offer succor to them. There is no way that I will desert those who depend on me. One who protects those who take refuge in him, and is ever mindful of the good of those dependent on him, who is always true to his promises. This means he's Shatvishan. No, this is Dhanishta, the oath keeper. Okay. Who is true to his promises, who is benevolent to his subjects, who is omniscient, who is renowned for his good deeds, pure and ever responsive to devotion, meditating on his own essence. Equal to Brahma, he's the protector of his people. He's pleasing to look upon. He's the supporter of this universe. He's the destroyer of those who contravene the moral code. This is why Ravan has to be taken off the face of the planet. Who is the inspirer of virtue? Who is the giver of special grace to his devotees and to those who duly observe sacrificial rites and are charitable? Who is conversant with the essence of the Vedic philosophy? Who is an adept in the science of warfare? And he is also skilled in scriptural law. In other traditions, the teacher does not have these facets. He either has the scriptural part or the martial part. In Bhagavan Sri Ram, all of these sciences are at full force. He's an adept in the science of warfare. He's skilled in scriptural law. He is of infallible memory. He is beloved of all, of courteous disposition, incapable of cowardice, acquainted with the laws of this world, also as of the other worlds. As the rivers hasten to the ocean, so do men of virtue ever approach him. Equal to Vishnu in valor, grateful to the sight as the full moon. When stirred to righteous anger, he resembles all-consuming death. In patience, like the earth. In generosity, like the god of wealth, Kubir. In truthfulness, the personification of virtue. Such are his great qualities. Ram, the beloved heir of King Dashrath, possessing every excellent attribute, benevolent to all, devoted to the welfare of every living being. His father, King Dashrath made preparations to install him as his regent. But the queen, Kaikeyi, claiming the boons formerly promised to her, demanded the exile of Ram and the enthronement of her own son Bharat. So what Narad is doing here, he's conversing with Valmiki. He's in fact giving him a summary account of all. First he's telling him who Bhagavan Sri Ram is. And this is why I said I won't be able to finish this today. There's about 10 more pages to this. But by today's introduction, once we get into more of this, we'll continue. I got about a few more things I want to say. So his father, King Dashrath, made preparations to install him on the throne, and then we all know the story of Queen Kaikeyi demanding the boons that she had secured from Raja Dashrath. The king, held by his promise and by the ties of honor, sent this son Ram, whom he loved as his own life, into exile. Obeying the command of his royal sire, and in order to gratify Kaikeyi, Sri Rama went to the forest. The Queen Sumitra, Prince Lakshman, the son of Queen Sumitra, Prince Lakshman, inspired by affection and humility, followed his elder brother, Rama, into exile. The daughter of King Janak, an incarnation of Lakshmi Devi, endowed with the highest feminine virtues, seeing Prince Lakshman accompanying Rama, obedient to her lord, begged him to allow her to follow him into exile, even as Venus follows the moon. Is that true? Jyotish Bhai?
Yeah.
Venus follows the moon.
Don't know all that.
No, sometimes when you learn something from astronomy and so on, Jyotish. Accompanied for some leagues by King Dashrath and his people, Rama dismissed the charioteer on reaching the town of Sringaveri. I know Pandit is now doing in the Tulsi Ramayana how Sri Ram leaves Ayodhya, and when he leaves, right, he makes his journey to the river Ganges. Guha has to take him over the river and so on. So some of this Narad is giving in summary form, because later Valmiki has to use his yogic power to see all this thing and then write the poem. And later on Tulsidas translates this. So, and I think Rama dismissed the chariot and reaching the town of Sringavera. I think in this time that the Valmiki Ramayana was written, this thing was called Sringavera. I think in the time of Tulsidas, it changes its name to Sringaveri. I think those who have gone on pilgrimage, you guys have probably come this far, on the banks of the river Ganges, and commanded the minister, Sumatra, to return to the capital. Here the prince met, I will close with this paragraph. Here the prince met his beloved Guha, the chief of the Nishadas. The word Nishada, when it translated, means Chandal. Here Rama meets his beloved Guha. So, even though these were tribal people, the prince of this entire area, the king of this country, loved all of his inhabitants. Here the prince met his beloved Guha, the chief of the Nishadas, accompanied by whom, with Lakshman and Sita, he crossed the river Ganga and entered the forest, arriving at length at the Chitrakuta mountain described by sage Bharadwaj. Ram, Lakshman, and Sita dwelt happily in the forest like Devas or Gandharvas. So we close there with this. Later on, the summary that Narad is giving is such an extensive summary that if you were to follow this, nobody can tell you something else. If you knew this précis that they follow, but they can't tell you this is in that order or that is in that order. I'm going to close now with one last sentiment. When movie makers are making movies, they take a lot of liberties. Right? Just like our people make movies about Crest and Adam characters and so on, Moses and whoever they make movies. They take a lot of liberties. Certain things they show you in movies never happens in the movie. Right? So the role of temples like this is to make sure you get a story straight to begin with. Right? So when you see something in movies that didn't happen in the movie, that's called choreography, it's called screenplay, but this is a very common literary thing. Because I'll read a certain novel, and then when I go see the movie, Say what? What did they do to this book? No. But it's a common thing. So all we have to do, the movie maker of the time was trying to do something. He was trying to appeal to some kind of a crowd and so on, right? And there's one movie I love a lot. It doesn't occur movies. And this is one, right? And some of the Budge instrument is really beautiful stuff. And even some of the avatar, the way they depict the avatars, some of these things didn't have to be avatars, right? So it has a certain amount of fictional meat into it, but it's there for choreography, it's there for cinematography, it's there to probably give way to a certain scene to make it happen, right? When directors are directing things, they're under different pressures, so they take liberties. So we close with this. Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedase Raghunataya Raghunataya Sitaya Hari Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Okay, Justin, there we go. All right, I really don't have a list of my concerns to read. My helper didn't take one for this week. But you know what, we have to go by memory. We have a full book coming up in July. And that will also be Guru Purnima, I believe.
Yes.
So it's one of the important things for us as Hindus to remember that. Check your calendar, that's why we have it. If you don't have one, we also posted it on our webpage. You can find it there and check the dates. So all the important dates that are in the Hindu tradition, you will find in these calendars. Ours, of course, list all of them that we pay attention to. So I want to thank everybody for coming today. I want to thank Pandit Mohan and Pandit Neil for coming as well. Pandit Ramatu for helping out the function he does. And we recognize, of course, that it's a big sacrifice for them. They have to come all the way from Oakville. We don't know what the traffic is going to be. And this morning at 7 o'clock, Pandit Ramatu texted me that he's coming. We had discussed it and he said he was going to let me know ahead of time that he's going to be here. But he waited until this morning at 7 to do that. He does the same thing as Patricia does. Calls that when this service is about to start, I can't make it today. Sometimes I'm sitting here already and the message is going up. I knew there was a message. Don't have time to look. But a little bit of notice ahead of time would be good. Alright? So I can arrange my affairs. I want to thank you for being here, though. It's a long drive, but
We're coming unless I see you.
throw this up. Let me book you from now for the 31st of July, alright? So that day is yours. Okay. And I think I need to put you guys on a little schedule. First Sunday of the month will be good with you. Moving forward?
That's in my calendar. Yeah.
First Sunday of the month will be good. Alright, so every first Sunday of the month. Yeah, so first Sunday of the month is next week as well.
You planned it well.
So next week plus the 31st of July, alright? Now the week after that you can take off if you want to, but it's still yours. So you have 3 weeks coming up in the group. Alright, so you're set for that. Okay. So don't forget, mark it on your calendar, and after that, first Sunday of each month, you guys will be here to conduct the service. Then I don't have to be here each time. But I'll try to be.
I like it when you're there.
I like to be here
This is
too.
why we don't tell you, so you show up, and then we're like, okay,
I like to be here too. I feel naked if I didn't come here 1 week and the Sunday's gone by. I'm restless at home doing whatever I was doing. My thoughts are here. So that's the thing. I really appreciate everybody showing up this morning and participating. I don't think I have anything else to do. We have one announcement, one donation And that is for Jasmine Patel, whose birthday we celebrated the week before last. And now, for again, the grandfather has shown up here and he's given a donation of $50 on her 9th birthday celebration. So thank you, Paulo, for the donation. That's all we have for this time. And I want to thank everybody again for being here and for participating. And our time is running up. Let's thank Artie and close the program.
Is it 9 or 10?
9.
Oh, yes, young Sham here will do closing prayer.
आरती कीजिए श्री रघुवर
शान्ताकारं भुजगशयनं पद्मनाभं सुरेशं विश्वाधारं गगनसदृशं मेघवर्णं सुवर्णं लक्ष्मीकान्तं कमलनयनं योगिभिर्ज्ञानगम्यं वन्दे विश्वं भवभयहरणम् सर्वलोकैकनाथं त्वमेव माताश्च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव ॐ मन्त्रहीनं क्रियाहीनं भक्तिहीनं जनार्दनं यजपूजया देवा परिपूर्णं रस्मे ॐ बार परमांगरहो हर्षदेव श्रीरं परसरोजन पावमही भक्ति सदा सत्संगस्य अजय रामचंद्र की जय शरणं प्रभु इस बोलो ओम गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरा गुरु साक्षात् परम ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः ओम यं शांति अंतरिक्षं शांति पृथ्वी शांति आकाश शांति उष्णते शांति वनस्पति शांति विश्वदेव शांति ब्रह्मा शांति सर्वं शांति शांतिरेव शांति सर्वं शांति 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 हरि ओम। प्रेम से बोलो श्री कृष्ण भगवान की जय।